Welcome, tennis fans, to the 23rd episode of Tennis Traverse, Exploring a Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, Ivy J. And in today's episode, I'll be talking about the Australian Open Week 2 and the aftermath of it. And before I start, please follow all of my social medias, that is Instagram and Twitter, using at Tennis Traverse, that is at Tennis Traverse. And I just want to say that because Australian Open is over, I might not be as active on Twitter as I was before, but just please go follow all of my social medias if you would like to hear from me more than just once a week, I guess. And if you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. If you're listening on other streaming platforms, please rate my show, and let's get right into today's episode. Okay, this Australian Open. Okay, wait, before I start, I just want to say I'm feeling way better. Last week, I literally don't know what happened. I had 3 days off from school. I was literally like rotting on my bed. But now I'm actually feeling so much better, and hopefully, this episode will be better quality than my last one. And yeah, let's just get right into today's episode. So, this Australian Open has been full of, I guess, surprises and not that much surprises. Like, I feel like a fun fact is this Australian Open is actually one of the most played deciding sets Grand Slams, which is crazy. Well, not crazy because, I mean, from watching it, I could tell that there was a lot of like close matches. However, I just feel like nobody expected it going in, even though there are a lot of players coming back and there has been a lot of new players, I guess, but still, I don't think anyone expected it to be as, I don't want to say fun, but nobody expected it to be as interesting as it was, especially on the women's side. So that eases into the women's side, so we'll talk about the WTA first. And I do want to mention, I'll leave a link to the live ranking down below because basically on the WTA websites, the ranking updates once every week, so like every Monday, but from the website that I'm leaving a link down below, you guys can basically see the full ranking, the live ranking of it. So we can see that the finalist Jing Qingwen is currently ranked number 7 in the world, and she was ranked number 13, so this is a new career high for her. So I guess if you're really interested in tennis, you can go check out this live ranking because it tells you a lot of things. And I just picked out some players that I think are worth mentioning and how this Australian Open changes them, or like what this Australian Open will kind of mean for them, if that makes sense. So I guess we'll talk about Coco Gauff first. So Coco lost in the semifinal against Sabalenka, and I mentioned this matchup because this was a rematch from the US Open that took place, I think it was 2023 August. Well, yeah, around August. And that final was one of the best finals I watched because Coco was, well, she lost the first set and she was sort of like, for me, I didn't expect her to turn the match around just because I feel like Sabalenka was just over the top amazing, but Coco manages to chase down every single ball and turn that match around, which was insane. And this Australian Open semifinal match was basically a rematch, and that this match went completely different from that US Open match. So, of course, the match between Coco and Sabalenka was the closest one anyone has played against Sabalenka in this tournament, but still Coco lost in 2 straight sets. And I just want to mention this because actually I'm not too upset that Coco only went to the semifinals because there has been sort of this trend going on in the WTA that if you do really well in a previous Grand Slam, the next Grand Slam you'll do like less well. You'll probably get eliminated in week 1 of the tournament, but Coco didn't. And I think that just shows, I guess, sort of how good of a player Coco can be and how I hope that she's like staying on this top level because I really think the rivalry between her and Sabalenka is one that is worth watching. So yeah, I just want to point that out. And moving on, I want to point out some players that I think just, especially because on the bottom half of the draw, a lot of seeded players were eliminated early, so they just stood out to me. And some honorable mentions are Kalinsaya, Paulini, Noskova, and Zheng Qingwen, who went to the finals. So now I guess I'll just talk about Zheng Qingwen. So Zheng Qingwen is a really sort of player that's always been there. She's ranked considerably always in the top 20, around 20. So it's like a stable ranking. But this tournament, she really had a breakthrough because, as I said before, a lot of seeded players, like players seeded in top 5, were eliminated really early in the draw. So it like give a perfect opportunity for her to advance, and she did. So she went to the final where she obviously lost to Sabalenka, but I believe she played really, really well, and I'm just really happy for her because her coach before went the set, he left her for Naomi Osaka, and I guess this just proved to her former coach that she is perfectly capable of going into a Grand Slam final. So, yeah, I'm really happy for her, and she's been doing really well. And I feel like not only is her like technical game improving, her mental game is improving as well because I just have an example here. In the quarterfinals, she played against Anna Kalinsaya and she lost the first set tiebreak. And normally, I feel like she wouldn't be able to turn that match around, but she did. So it just shows how strong of a mental player she is. So the next two sets, the scores were 6-3 and 6-1. So yeah, I feel like really impressive for her for what she did, and I'm really happy that a seeded player stepped up to make that final. I guess it's still not as entertaining as it would be, but it's still nonetheless a really good final just because I feel like Zheng Qinwen stepped up. And the other player that I think had a breakthrough and now let me see. So the next player I want to talk about is Diana Yastremska. So she's a Ukrainian player, and before, she wasn't even ranked in the top. No, well, like she had to play qualifying, which means that she's not like. Not only is she not a seeded player, she has to play qualifying to qualify. So she had to win 3 matches in a row to sort of get to the tournament, and she's currently ranked, well, according to the live ranking, she's ranked number 29th in the world. So that just shows how much her ranking can improve, and she jumped up 64 spots, so that's really impressive. And she played really, really well, and everyone was like, she's really close from pulling Raducanu because Emma Raducanu in 2021, she also played from qualifying and she managed to win the whole US Open. However, Yastremska came just like a bit too short. She in the semifinals she lost to Zheng Qinwen in 2 straight sets, which is sort of sad, but I'm really happy for Zheng Qinwen. And yeah, I'm just really happy that a lot of sort of players that are on the down low managed to come up, such as Blinkova, who beat Rabakina in round 2, and Noskova, who beat Iga Swiatek in the 4th round, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, I'm just really happy that a lot of players are stepping up, and I guess I'm really interested to see how they will do leading up to Roland Garros because I feel like a lot of players will just have their moment for like a second and then they'll just fade out and slowly but surely they'll come back. And I hope that these players who beat like the top seeds can stay there. So yeah. And then we'll talk about Arena Sabalenka. So Arena had a dominating performance. Like she played 14 sets. She won them all. I guess there wasn't really any struggle for her. She literally just went through them. The only like sort of struggle she had was when she played against Coco Gauff. There was a tiebreak, but she won that tiebreak 7-2. So like let me just read out the 14 set scores. It's gonna be a mouthful, but just bear with me. 6-1, 6-0, 6-3, 6-2, 6-0, 6-0, 6-3, 6-2, 6-2, 6-3, tiebreak 7-2, 6-4, 6-3, 6-2. So she literally just had a dominating performance throughout, and I think this just shows how, because this is also her back-to-back trophy, like last year in Australian Open she also won, so it just shows how dominating she is at Melbourne. And I guess now it's sort of really like looking, even though it's a bit early, but looking forward to the next Australian Open. I think this just shows how much sort of expectations are put on her for her to win the next one, which is crazy to think about because it's just so early. But I feel like I just hope she doesn't buckle under the pressure. And I really like her style of power tennis. I feel like it's just, it's how I would like to play tennis if I had her ability, because she's just really good at striking the ball and her ball power is just insane. And her ability to like, even though like a lot of people will argue she did really good in Brisbane International, which is a tournament leading up to it, and I agree, even though she got bageled in the final by Rybakina, so I was saying how her ability to turn that bagel around and sort of like never lose a set in Australian Open is insane. And I always admire people who won Grand Slams because you have to win 7 matches in a row, and that's not an easy thing to do, especially to not drop a single set. That's super impressive. So yeah, I'm really happy for her, and I hope that she'll win one more Grand Slam this year. Let's see which one it will be. Okay, so I also left a link to Coco Gauff versus Arina Sabalenka and Jing Qinwen versus Arina Sabalenka in my description if you guys want to go check it out. It's highlights, and yeah, please go look at it if you guys are bored or just want to look at it. Okay, so I guess a word that I put down that will summarize the Australian Open women's side of 2024 is surprising, because I did not expect a lot of players to rise up like they did. Like, I did not expect Diana Yastremska to go to the semifinals, and I did not expect Jin Tae-won to go to the finals. I didn't expect, for example, Amanda Anisimova to go to the fourth round. Like, there's just a lot of surprises, and most of them are pleasant, but like players such as Rybakina and Iga Swiatek and Alistair Barr losing early, that was sort of, it took a definitely took an impact on the draw, and it made a lot of sort of new players, not new players, but like players on the download to come up, which I mean is not a bad thing, but at the same time, I really do want to see like a Swiatek versus Sabalenka final if yeah, but it is what it is, and I'm really happy with how the draw turned out and how I guess there's a lot of more players that I wasn't paying attention to that I will start paying attention to from now on. So yeah. Okay, now let's move on to the men's side. I guess for the men's side, let's just I guess okay, there's a handful to talk about, but before I talk about anything, I also left a link of the live rankings to the men's side if you guys want to go check it out. To be honest, nothing changed that much because Novak is still number one, and he'll maintain that number one position up to Roland Garros if like nothing. Yeah, so not that much change compared to the women's side, but just still want to point that out, I guess. Okay, so for the men's side, the first thing I want to talk about is Rafael Nadal. It might be kind of weird because he wasn't even in this tournament, but I think from the way Rafa was advertising his comeback, there was just so much expectations and anticipation built up to him coming back, and the moment he didn't come back, the like everyone was like, what? Like, because of all the things he advertised and how he was like, I'm back, I'm back. Everyone was like really looking forward to him coming back. But the moment he got injured and pulled out, the expectations immediately sort of surrounding, in my opinion, for me, Novak versus Nadal just immediately went down. And I guess I feel like it's how a lot of people felt. And to be honest, with Rafa gone, I mean, to be honest, if Rafa was here, I don't think he would make a profound impact if like thinking from now, because from the way he was playing in Brisbane, like he was playing really well, but I just, even though he might be able to eliminate some seeds in Australian Open, like in the early rounds, I don't think he had the ability to win long matches just because he's coming back from an injury, and from what he said himself, right? He is not in a condition to play 5 set matches, and since Australian Open is like a Grand Slam, it's best of five. So I feel like Rafa not being here, even though it's really sad because a lot of people were looking forward to it, it didn't change the tournament results. So, I mean, that's just a speculation because we'll never know what will happen if Rafa is here, but just want to point that out. And similar to the women's side, not as many though, but there's like a few players I do want to mention that made a breakthrough that I was sort of interested in. So the first one is Nuno Borges. So he is a Portuguese player, and he basically went to the fourth round, which is not that bad, and he lost to Daniel Medvedev, and he still even managed to take a set out of Daniel Medvedev, which is insane. And really happy for him. I feel like he did really, really good. And like I said before in my last episode, the way he plays tennis is really entertaining. So we'll be looking out for him. And the other player is Arthur Kazu, who is a French wildcard receiver. He also lost in the fourth round against Hubert Hurkacz. Not that much surprise here, but he also had a deep run. So yeah. And I guess there's a lot more players I want to talk about, but these are like seeded players. But I'm just really happy that they would like they had a deep run. That's kind of different on the women's side where there's a lot of unseeded players and qualifiers, but I feel like it's ATP, even though there are a lot of like unexpected players, there's still seeded players in a way, right? So players I want to mention is Andrea Manarino. He's just an entertaining player. Taylor Fritz, who beat Tsitsipas. That was insane. Did not expect that, even though obviously he lost to Novak in the next round. But still, like, I did not expect him to beat Steph. I just, like, for me, Taylor Fritz is just always here. Like, he's ranked considerably always in the top 15. He's just there, but I did not expect him to beat Steph. And yeah, that was a pleasant surprise, I guess. Felix Auger-Aliassime having his comeback, really here for it. And Cam Norrie, he's playing really good. He beat Casper Ruud, and I know I'm a huge fan of Casper, but Cam Norrie has been playing really, really good. And not to like be biased or anything, but Casper was, I feel like, playing better than he was last year here. He was at a really high level, so for Cam Norrie to like win in 4 sets is a pretty good achievement for him. And what else? Um, Okay, Hubert Hurkacz and Alex de Minaur. So Hubert, I did not expect him to go to the fourth round. I didn't expect it, and he even played a 5 set match against Medvedev. So that was insane. And Alex de Minaur, even though he got bageled by Rublev in the fourth round, and I predicted that he'll upset Rublev, but it is what it is, and I think because of him beating Novak Djokovic and beating Carlos Alcaraz in the exhibition, everyone had so much expectation on him. And also because he's an Australian, like there was just so much support and anticipation surrounding him. So it's really sad that he didn't go as far as I would like to, but yeah. Okay, and then we'll just talk about some players that I was kind of sad about, sort of, which is Rublev in the quarterfinals. So he's been in Grand Slam quarterfinals for 10 times, and the record is 0 out of 10. So he didn't win one quarterfinals. And everyone was like, it's because he's playing against super good people in quarterfinals. Well, it is because it's a Grand Slam, and when you are in a quarterfinal, you like probably will play against someone that's like a really high level. So you can't. I feel like that's not a valid argument to make. I think it's just Rublev needs to learn how to work and beat higher ranked players than him. and I feel like that is a really difficult thing to do, but I feel like just need to know how to overcome that to like make it past the quarterfinals, because he's like ranked, well, in this tournament for example, right, he's ranked 5th in the world, so like in the early rounds he's not going to have that much of a challenge, and I feel like it's just up to the quarterfinals where challenges will start to come in. So I feel like it's really important to know how to beat players that are seated higher than you. So yeah, I mean, at least he still has like a lot of chances to prove himself, right? Okay, now we'll talk about Novak Djokovic. So, okay, I mean, he lost. I did not expect him to lose, even though he had injuries, but he like always has injuries and he just manages to come back, and it is Australian Open. He has like 4 in a row championships here. Like I don't think anyone expected him to lose. Like on Twitter I always see these funny things that are like, okay, for example, Fritz is playing at the highest level as he can be and Novak is having injuries. Still Novak in 3. Like I just I feel like every time Novak plays, there's just this expectations built up that he will win, and like normally players will probably feel really stressed if like the crowd assume that they will win easily, even if it's like against such a high level player. But for Novak, I feel like he's used to it and he does win. However, he lost, and I was so confused. That loss was on Thursday. I woke up, I looked at the score, I saw he got breadsticked. He got breadsticked by Sinner. I was like, huh? I was so confused. And the only set he won was a tiebreak. It was a close tiebreak. But still, I was like, how did he lose? And even though Novak did say that this was one of his worst Grand Slam performances, I couldn't believe he lost. I was literally so confused. But it is what it is, because well, part of my confusion is because he's just doing so well at Grand Slams, right? Like, especially the Australian Open, it's like sort of his place. It's where he like performs the best, and I just like his New Year resolution of a calendar slams is just out of the window, and I'm like, what's happening? Because obviously Rafa's gonna come back at French Open, so that would play a huge factor. So I don't know what will happen to Novak this year, but I feel like he's still gonna be here at number one, and he will figure out a way. Just because, as I said a million times before, he's Novak, so it is what it is. And I there has been a lot of conversation surrounding Carlos Alcaraz with the way he performed, and to be honest, I can't complain. Like, even though he did lose to Zverev, I don't have any complaints, because a lot of people were like, because Carlos Alcaraz. Wait, sorry about that bang. If you can hear it, I'm sorry. I think someone just dropped something. But everyone was like, Carlos Alcaraz, is there still hope? Y'all, he's like 20. He's so young. Of course there's still hope. He's so young, and he's like doing really well. He went to the quarterfinals last season in the ATP World Tour finals. He went to the semifinals. Like, there's still so much hope surrounding him. And even though he do have some like round one losses, such as against Roman Safelin, well, like in Paris last year, but Roman Safelin is a talented player. Like, I feel like you can't just say how he lost in the quarterfinals that he has no hope. Of course he does. He's so young, and even though he lost to Alexander Zverev, Zverev has considerably more experience, and yeah, and now it's the clay court season. So with the clay court swing on the horizon, like there's gonna be so much more of him, and just I feel like please don't say how he's just like he's underwhelming and that's all he can do, because that's simply not true. He's so young and there's more to him. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to how he plays, even though this tournament and during that quarterfinal he did not perform as I would like to, but that's normal because, well, I can't be using his age as an excuse, but because he's young, I feel like he still has so much more Grand Slams that's coming up compared to someone like Novak who's 30 something. So, yeah. Okay, I was passionate about that because I was looking at like Twitter and there's so much people that were like, there's no hope to Alcaraz, and I'm like, just stop. Okay, I guess that's all. Wait, let me see. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm so stupid. I need to talk about the final. The final, Medvedev versus Sinner. It happened today. I woke up and I couldn't believe it was still going on. And I was like, huh? It was like 4 hours, I think. Well, I woke up and it was like, it's been going on for 3 hours and 30 minutes. I think it ended at like 4 hours, I think, probably. So, really happy. Sinner got his first major title. Like, he needed that, and he's so deserving. He's super deserving. I was on a, like, I don't know what happened, but yesterday I was just like watching, those YouTube highlights of like different players playing different games and like guessing the grunts, guessing the signatures. I was watching stuff like that. I don't know why, but then I was like looking over it, and then I saw Sinner, and Sinner was just like such a humble person. He was so funny, and I was like, well, even though Medvedev is a mood, but I was like, I kind of want Sinner to win, and his ability to come back even after an intense match he played against Novak Djokovic in the semifinal is insane. Not that many players can like win a tournament after beating Novak, because that, like, especially in a Grand Slam, because that takes a lot of energy, and for him to come back like down 2 sets in a final, and this is his first final, so that's insane. And yeah, really happy for him. And I guess I'm happy for Medvedev as well, because I was looking on Twitter and there were a lot of people before this final. They were like, how we expected like super much from Medvedev and we just don't know if we're gonna get it. I had that feeling too, because I feel like I expected a lot from from Medvedev, and by a lot I mean like 4 or 5 Grand Slams. But before I was like, I don't know if he's gonna be able to sort of live up to my expectations, but he went to the finals, and I guess I didn't expect him to beat Zverev because he came back, and I'm really happy that he beat Zverev, and his mental toughness, like the mental toughness from Danielle, is insane. Like, he literally shows no emotions on court. Well, he does a little bit, but like he really shows emotion on court, and even though he sort of used that anger to fuel himself, which I find really impressive. And yeah, a word to summarize the men's side of AO this year. Okay, I would say that it's entertaining because I did not expect a lot of players to go out as early. Well, not as early, because Novak didn't go out early. He went out in his semifinals, but like, it wasn't as predictable as I thought it would, because I feel like everyone thought Novak was gonna win. So the fact that Novak didn't win just made it entertaining for me. And yeah, that's the word I'll sum it up: entertaining. And I left a link to Novak versus Sinner and Sinner versus Medvedev if you guys want to go check it out. And that sums up this Australian Open. I think this was an amazing tournament, and a lot of people was like, it's sort of messy with all the, especially on the women's side, of all the seeds going out early. But as I said before, we did manage to see a lot of new players coming up, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I'm really happy. And for next episode, I will probably talk about the book, because I have like, well, I wasn't reading because I was sick. I was literally rotting on my bed and I couldn't focus. I was literally just like sitting there. I was watching Australian Open. I was dying, but whatever. I think I will be able to finish this book, and the next episode will be a book review. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.